Let's talk Tanya for the 25th of Nisan. Yesterday we explained that if a person is to attain Das, really is able to connect to that which he or she understands and that which he or she contemplates, then Yiras Hashem, arriving at a state of awe and reverence for God, is not difficult. It's quite simple. That is true. But arriving at Das isn't so simple. Once I have the Das, the Yira is the simple matter, but arriving at Das can be a little more complicated. How do we get to Das? So the first thing that the Alter Rebbe says is, you have to know that your Yira Shamayim, your awe for God, is there. It's innate, it's inherent within you. You have it. And because you have it, you could reveal it. You know, if you don't have it and it's a matter of creating it, then the question might be, is it possible for me to create it or not? Do I have it within me to do that? But if I know I have it, the example that Alter Rebbe gives is like a treasure that you know. Imagine that you know that there's a treasure buried in the ground. The only question is, how deep is it? How much do I have to dig? The same thing is also when it comes to the fear of heaven. We have it there. It's just a matter of, I need to develop enough das in order to be able to get in touch with that oitzer of Yiras Shamayim, that treasure of awe of heaven that I have within me. And the work is a double work. One is on the side of surmira, which we call, in other words, moving away from that which is negative. And the other part of the work is va'asei toiv, is moving into positive territory. The first thing we need to do is, if we're feeling that we're not able to connect, we don't feel that awe of God, is we need to do that work of disconnecting from those things that are blocking that connection. In simple words, that means breaking the ego a little. You can reference back to chapters 29 and 30 where the Alter Rebbe talks about how to break the ego, and doing tshuva for those misdeeds that we did, which may be stopping us from connecting and having that das. That's the first part of the work. Once we've done that, the second part of the work is in the positive realm, which means taking some time on a daily basis to contemplate and contemplate deeply. It's really about focusing, strongly focusing on the idea that God is right here. In the words of Pirkei Avos, Ayin Roya, Ezen Shemas, that there is an eye that's watching everything, there is an ear that's listening to everything. God is imminent, He's present, He's over here, He's watching me. And if a person is to think about this, and it's not a matter of, we've talked about in the past the difference between Bina and Das. Bina is mental processing, Das is mental connection. It's not a matter of understanding it better. It's simply marinating in the idea, focusing on the idea. And if we do it, some people it'll take shorter, some people it'll take longer. That depends a lot also on the level of neshama that any given person has. But with enough thought, with enough contemplation, every single person will arrive at that das, arrive at that connection, connect to the idea, and ultimately, if I can connect to the idea that God is right over here, watching me, listening to me, that will bring me to a place of Yiras Shamayim, that will bring me to a place of awe of heaven, connecting to that internal awe that I have within me. Now, we're imagining God having the eye that sees, the ear that hears, but does God really have an eye? Does God really have ears? God doesn't have any body. God isn't physical. So how is God watching me? How is God listening to me if He doesn't have a physical body? That will be the topic of discussion in tomorrow's Tanya.